Hey, what's up? Welcome to another episode of Garage Topics. Today, we're going to talk about what was actually wrong with this Corvette. I knew that it had an issue. Part of why I got the car so cheap was because it put out a little bit of smoke in the rear. You can kind of see it in some of the videos I did with revving the engine up. There's a little bit of smoke coming out. It didn't run 100% well, so my gut feeling was that it needed something for the tune to be fixed. The tune wasn't 100% right. I was hoping that the tune was going to fix all the issues with the smoke and that we're going to be good to go, and I would have gotten a great deal on a Corvette. Since this car has a big cam in it and some other goodies on it, I was told that HP Tuners was the tune that was done to the stock computer. And so what you got to do with that, you either got to have your own license or you got to know a tuner that has access to that. Another option too is Diablo Sport. This is N293. These can actually read HP tuner files as well, and Diablo Sport has their own CMR software, so you can have it tuned in CMR as well. Long story short, I have one of these. I know a guy at Diablo Sport. I was able to send the HP tuner files over from him to have a look to see if it needs some tuning issues or whatever. Everything looks somewhat okay. I needed O2 sensors. I needed wideband readings for him to actually see what was going on. What I did, I'd start the car up, hook it up to the laptop, send him a data log of the file for him to see if anything's wrong with it. I'd drive it around the neighborhood, send the same thing to him, etc. What happened was it would break up underneath acceleration. A lot of smoke was coming out the tailpipe. I was like, man, something else is going on here. So I led me towards doing a compression check. Compression check is going to tell me if each cylinder, each piston's in healthy shape. Alright, annoying beeping. I've disconnected all the fuses for the fuel pump and the spark. Clutch in, accelerator fully in, just as a double check to kill all ignition and fuel. Alrighty, let's please stay. Alright, I can't tell from here, but let's see. Please be 130-ish. Please be 130-ish. It went up to 150. I don't like that at all. So I did a compression check, then I did a leak down test, which requires an air compressor and a special leak down tester, which I got from the Freight of Harbor. And what you do is the cylinder in question, you bring it up to top dead center, so the piston's all the way up, the valves are closed, so no oxygen or gas is being released out of the exhaust of the intake, coming in or out. And you put this air fitting into it, and what it does is it tests to see, can it hold the air pressure? And depending if it's leaking or not, which based on the low compression, it's leaking somewhere, tells you what's wrong. I was hoping the valves or the valve seals were bad. That means you just take the heads off and figure that one out. That wasn't the case. I had a bunch of I had a bunch of air pressure coming out of this and this, which means it's pushing past the pistons going down to the bottom, which is indicative of bad rings or something wrong with the piston. So, not good. That's the ultimate bad option. So instead of pouting about it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this cylinder head, which isn't too bad of a job on this. Thankfully, on these Corvettes, it doesn't sit too far underneath the firewall. Like 4th gen F-bodies and Firebird things, they sit way back. So this isn't bad. I'll take it off. I'm going to lower the piston down in that cylinder, which is bad, and then see if the cylinder itself looks bad. If the cylinder's bad, I'm going to have to take the whole engine out and do something like get it rebuilt or something like that, which would suck. I'm praying that I'm going to take the heads off, lower the piston, look at the cylinder walls, and the cylinder walls are going to be fine, and hoping that the piston itself is just messed up between the rings. Let's pray. My go-to was this dish pan. It was cheap. It fits perfectly and stops the splashing. On these Corvettes, there's a drain plug up here. You just turn it, a twist, and it comes right out. It's like it was meant to be. I really dig this pan. Got everything torn down. All the bolts out of the manifold, valve covers, all the bolts out of the head, and all the rockers, push rods are all out. All that's left is to take the head off. All my stuff's ordered here in order of where it came out. It looks all very new. It's all Vengeance Racing. The head, before I taped it up when all the stuff was getting in there, looked like it was brand new. So definitely these heads had some work done to them, except this one here, which is the cylinder in question, looked pretty gunky inside there, where the rest of them looked immaculate. So it's probably that cylinder. Now it's a matter to see if the cylinder wall is bad, and hopefully just the piston's bad. Alright, head is off. It's this cylinder here. I've just taken the coolant out. It's got some weird stuff up top. I have not pushed the cylinder down, the piston down yet to see if the cylinder walls look bad. The rest of them look pretty good, but I am scared to look at this one, so may as well turn it over and find out the fate of this LS6 engine. Alright, so that looked gross. Every day after work for the past couple days, I've been working on this car. I was going to videotape it, but it's kind of boring, and it's my first time doing it, but I'll show you what I did. We did the compression checks, and basically, engine needed to come out. These Corvettes, engine is supposed to come out from down underneath. Some people in their garage will lift the car way up and then bring all the drivetrain underneath, but people have documented that you can take it up from up top. Not only did we take it up from up top, but we also took it from the side and kept the hood and the front bumper on, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit extra work, but I don't know, it just seemed a little bit easy to me because of how the garage is. Here she is. We're gonna put this on an engine stand. This is my first engine pulling it from a car, and this one definitely was not easy. Nothing broke. The power steering was kind of a pain trying to get the pulley off. Other than that, everything else was just slow and tedious. We'll give this a cleaning eventually, but before we do that, we need to make sure we've got an engine that we can actually use and drive with. Like I said, I'm pretty stoked. I've never done anything like that before. It took me a couple days after work. Probably about 9 hours of work into this total. People who have done it in quicker, in like 5 hours. And I definitely think you can do that now that I know what I'm doing. It'd be a breeze. Getting it back in hopefully is a little bit easier, but we'll see when I get around to that. But wanted to show you what I've been working on. It's been pretty crazy. Let's take a look and see what's actually wrong with this engine now. What a mess the garage is, but we've got the engine on the stand. There's the old vet right here. I'm draining the oil because we want to take the pan off. We want to flip it around on the engine stand so we can get this piston out. That's the questionable one. This oil down here only had 30 miles in it and it was black as can be. So drain the oil, flip the engine around, and finally be able to tell what's going on with this engine. We took a piston out, got it out there, and what I did is I took the ring off with my buddy Keith, took the ring off the piston, put it back in the cylinder, and that would show you there's supposed to be an extremely small gap like the one here. The other cylinders look pretty good, but the cylinder that had bad compression had a terrible gap, and it was evident that that cylinder was out of whack, something was wrong there, and it needed to be rebuilt probably. Actually, needed to be rebuilt. Theory of why that cylinder got eaten up so bad is there definitely was an issue with the tune, and what we think is the oil smelled fuely, which means there's too much fuel coming into that cylinder. We think that when the piston's going up and down, the piston ring has oil to lubricate it so it doesn't eat up the metal. We think there was too much fuel being dumped in there, so that anytime there was any oil there, the fuel would just wash it away. It happens when you rebuild engines sometimes, but it's just the tune I think was just really bad. Something else might have happened, injector might have been bad, not sure, but that's probably what happened. There's no reason why that one cylinder should be so eaten up. But the next step was just to take it to the engine builder. Alright, got the engine all loaded up in here, strapped down. Now the time's going to tell. We need to figure out how to get this rebuilt. I'm going to go get this thing rebuilt by a guy that's recommended by some of the co-workers I have at Holley. Looking forward to meeting him, and some of you may recognize him. I ended up moving everything from one place and having it all in one central location. The intake manifold, water pump was new, so that's good. Don't have to replace that at all. Like I mentioned, I had to break off the power steering pulley. It's plastic. It wouldn't come off. I tried pressing it off and it just broke the tool and broke the actual thing here. So that was a bummer. We'll get a new pump. We'll get a billet wheel, not a plastic one, or at least a metal one. Heads here in great shape. These have definitely been refreshed recently. You got ARP head studs, hardened push rods like we mentioned in that video, the previous one. I cleaned off this bracket. We'll probably do some more cleaning before it all goes back in. Headers are down here. The only thing we've seen, this is rusty because it's had a little water on it. This flywheel's got a little bit of heat in it. Hopefully that can be turned and we won't have to replace it. The clutch is okay, but since it's out, I may as well replace it too because that's a pretty big job to do. A big thing that I did, every single bag had has writing on it as far as where it goes, what it does, if I didn't keep it exactly where it's at. So, example, the heads, I kept all the bolts in there. They know where they're at. All these bags here tell me exactly where they go back. So, hopefully putting this all back together isn't that big of a job, but here she is. It's been sitting here for a week or so now with no engine, and it's pretty sad. Alright, so I wanted to catch everyone up to speed. The next video is going to be going over what is actually wrong with the engine, what we're going to do to rebuild the engine, and what it's going to take to get it back in the car. Definitely didn't expect this, but I honestly bought this car to just have more experience with actually getting nitty-gritty into cars. I've done a lot. Never actually done an engine rebuild, never been through one. Thankfully, never had to, but I got this car for a good deal. Hopefully, what we put back into the engine makes this car still a great deal. So, fingers crossed. If you got any questions, let me know. Feel free to reach out. Thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure that your dog doesn't get stuck with a bad engine, because he doesn't want to rebuild an engine. He's got too many other things going on. Peace out.